back to another Wildwoods Beekeeping Podcast. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. I'm looking forward to our live stream today. Tonight we will be joined by Matt from Sandy Valley Honey Company. So thank you, Matt, for joining us tonight. Today, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Grayson. I really appreciate you inviting me on and talking about bees, and I can do that anytime. So that's awesome. I'm really humbled, and appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, that's what we're here for, to talk about bees. Well, I guess we'll start out. I was going to ask you if you could just kind of share with us briefly about kind of how you got into beekeeping for some people who may not know who you are.
Sure. Well, I'm a contractor by trade, so we specialize a lot in bathrooms and kitchen remodels. So I was taking a bathroom apart to waterproof it, to install tile. And we actually came across a feral hive or a cutout at that point. So it had been in that structure for some time. This was March 1st of that year of 23, and really was too cold to do anything with it. But my wife, who's basically my biggest supporter in this whole thing, her name's Alicia, and she's a realtor, but she had sold a couple houses for a gentleman who's also a beekeeper. And so we called him, and he ended up being my mentor and helping me with that cutout. And we actually still have that hive. She's overwintered successfully so far. And we basically built up and grafted from her and another strong nuke that I purchased from my mentor. And we built up basically from 4 this year to 70 going into winter. So we ended up coming out with 66. So far, so good. But really just kind of building up, kind of dove in head first. Really just grew our bees and did a lot of hard work to get where we're at, but kind of on a path and just letting them dictate where it goes from here. But yeah, just having a blast and enjoying every part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what beekeeping is about. I love going to the colonies and doing stuff out there. And what we're kind of talking about earlier is getting really, really close to spring, so we'll be having a couple good topics tonight. Thank you all for joining us. I see a lot of familiar folks down there in the chat. Joseph Rawls, Keith Spillman, Tim and Hannah from Gunline Bees. A lot of good folks. Thank y'all for checking in. I apologize for not able to name everybody who's in the chat. The chats go by so fast every time I try to read them. A new one pops up. So tonight we will be answering questions. If anybody has them, please do feel free to ask them. We will answer them in a little bit after we get done with some of our topics that I put in my phone, just so that I would remember them, because a lot of times I don't remember them. So the first topic I want to talk about, I do watch a lot of your videos, Matt. I kind of try to watch many beekeeping videos as I can. And I see you do a lot of videos about condensing hives. I hope I'm saying that right. So can you explain to us a little bit about what those are and kind of how you use them?
Yeah, the condensing hive setup basically just as far as I understand it, is just a single bottom entrance as I use it. I have all screen bottom boards that I slide a chloroplast insert into for overwinter, but I don't side insulate, just the top. So I run all migratory covers, but I put on a winter feeding shim with a 1/2-inch wire cloth on that. So all my colonies went into winter with that, and that way I'm able to basically feed fondant on top of that wire and give access for emergency feed, if you will. But that condensing hive setup for me just entails basically that feeder shim. And since I put it on probably early November, before it starts getting cold, but also too late for the bees to be able to really seal it up and propolize it tight. So I do duct tape it, and I'm being a contractor by trade, I tape things all the time, so it's really no big deal for me. But yeah, I tape that up solid so it's nice and tight, no drafts coming in that way, and really just top insulate from there. So I use a Reflectix inner cover. I don't have a wooden inner cover, but a Reflectix cover there, and then 2 inches of basically a foil faced isopropyl insulation. So it's kind of a denser foam insulation that does have a reflective layer on it. So that builds to about an R15, and that keeps that feeding shim and kind of a heat dome on top of those bees. And they seem to really like it. There's not an issue at all. At first, I really was toying with the condensation problem and trying to keep the bees dry, and they have absolutely no problem at all, dry as a bone in there. So Like if there is any condensation or any water that does accumulate in my hives, it's all on the side walls, which they can access. So far so good. It may not be for everyone in everyone's situation, depending on humidity and climate, but here in St. Louis or south of it, we're kind of on the northern fingers of the Ozark Mountains, and that area can, we see a lot of the best of the best and the worst of the worst. So there's definitely extreme colds. We got about 10 inches of snow this last couple go rounds. Some negative digits too there too for weeks on end. So summertime gets really hot and humid. You can exceed 100 degrees and what feels like 100% humidity. But it's definitely balmy. So it's challenging but fun at the same time. So.
We usually do get some humidity and cold weather down here in Alabama. We never usually get any type of snow. It's not regularly that we have any snow, but we did get some snow a couple weeks, like maybe 11 days back, and it was probably about 4 to 3 inches. It was a good bit of snow. I mean, we've never really experienced anything like that we experienced. So it was a decent experience, but then it faded all away. But we do get some condensation in our colonies as well. But usually snow we don't get, but once in a while we will get some flurries. I thought this recent snow day was just gonna be a couple flurries, and the weather people are over exaggerating it or anything. That's sometimes what I expect, but no, we did get a good amount of snow, 3-4 inches, and there you go. But yeah, those are good for that. Next topic I wanted to talk about is fondant. I'm sure everybody feeds their bees. I was wondering if you could kind of tell us how you make your fondant and how you feed your bees.
Yeah. So right now, what really kind of got me started on wanting to kind of figure out the fondant thing is because just taking 70 hives in a winter, that would have been really expensive to feed. Let's say a store-bought product, that was prepackaged. I put on 2 rounds of that, or I went through 2 boxes and almost spent, about $250 to $300 on those. And that didn't even get me around all my colonies. So I had to try to figure out something pretty quick. And, I don't mind to experiment on things and kind of seeing what may work. So just doing some studying on the bees and their needs for wintertime feed. You can actually make sucrose honey. In a sense of inverting it either with acid and cook to a certain temperature per time. So I came up with a fondant recipe that I made a video for, really just because I wanted to share kind of the results I was seeing, and I just wanted to be helpful as much as possible there and kind of spread that hopefully for other people to succeed with. But that's basically just entailing fondant of any kind, of just made with an inverted sugar, and you can invert sugars a number of different ways, but primarily my recipe uses white distilled vinegar, and that's the acid for it. So that starts breaking down the sucrose molecule, which is basically kind of a stubborn, longer strain molecule if you want to get technical on it. But sucrose is a polysaccharide that's basically a complex sugar at that point, just table sugar. So the bees naturally digest and add enzymes to that nectar or sugar water, and by passing it around, they're adding certain enzymes and inverting that into at that point nectar that they're trying to store. So long and the short, the inverting process basically just with the softball temperature at about 20 minutes, and that's at 234 to 240 degrees. It's considered a softball temperature for candy making or sugar cooking. And that's just you just basically want to follow those simple steps that are in that video, and anyone could be highly successful with controlling cost-effective, highly digestible source of carbohydrates for our bees. I know in December we had a lot of fly days, and our colonies definitely lost weight over winter, definitely with the cold, and just so far, they're holding steady, but they're definitely had taken a hit with all the cold snaps, and so it's been successful for us, and they're able to basically utilize that feed as quickly, I feel like, as necessary. And in some instances, I've almost seen that some of those colonies have maintained weight, if not gained just a little bit back. which is great to see because I feel like they're also possibly storing it. I don't know. It's hard to find a lot of research on that to get an answer on that, but my suspect is if bees can get anything in prolific amounts, they're going to try to put it in the pantry. So if that's possible, that's even another added benefit of feeding such like an inverted sugar that's so quickly to utilize. So far so good. I highly recommend it for everybody. My mentor, to give an idea, told me to do a mountain camp method, and I did that with sugar bricks the first year, and they didn't really consume the sugar bricks all that much. I mean, they would be on it, but I feel like they hauled a lot of that out as trash or debris versus utilizing it as food. So to each his own. That's what's worked for me. So that's why I wanted to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to go and watch that video because I know there's a lot of ways to make fondant. I know other people make a lot of different ways of doing so, but I need to go watch that video. I just use granulated sugar and water
Mm-hmm.
and mix it up. But I'm sure I want to watch that video and figure out some other ways because I like to be open minded and when I do my beekeeping and every time I watch videos. So good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch that video. I did see it, on your channel when I looked through your content and stuff. But I just never got around to clicking on that video just yet. But I need to do that. I do want to ask. This is just a personal question. I saw in one of the videos about that feral beehive. I just want to kind of ask you how's that beehive doing?
Yeah, so that one that we actually got called from a tree company that was being paid to cut it down no matter what. So this was I want to say late October, just before just Halloween, and it was cold and rainy. And at that time of year, obviously, there's no way that a hive can build back up, even if it's in a nuke box. They were contained in the tree without any rot, so we basically just they contacted me, and I went out there and helped them lower it to the ground. They cut it and they flat cut it for me. I kind of instructed to them where I thought the cavity would be, and they kind of just cut it to the pieces that would fit in the back of my truck, basically, and ended up working out pretty good. We were able to lower it. I don't think we lost a single bee on the transfer. When I pulled the screen off, they pretty much reoriented there. It was about 45 minutes away. So they survived the winter, and they were on. I actually posted a little short video of them bringing in the pollen. It was really interesting that colony overwintered. I didn't actually. I took a thermal scan of it just because I have a thermal heat image gun, and I didn't get any kind of a reading whatsoever, which was intriguing because it's like, well, maybe they made, they didn't make it, So I kind of wrote them off. There's nothing I could do. It's a total enclosed cavity. There's no way to really to access anything. You can see the entrance and the first bridge of comb, and that's about all you can see. And they didn't come alive where the other hives in our yard. There's 45 hives there, and they were flying for maybe a week or so, and then all of a sudden these just erupted one day, and I have a feeling like they were better insulated, and they were probably surrounded with enough honey where I couldn't scan it. And the honey being such a good insulator for feral bees, I think that's how they made it basically. So far so good for them.
Yeah, I thought that was actually pretty interesting. So I just wanted to ask. Next topic, or I don't know if it's really a topic. It's just a question. I was just wondering, do you have any plans yet for spring? I know a lot of times, for me at least, whenever people ask me, about plans and stuff, I always say it depends on how my bees come out of winter. But everybody asks me, so I figured I always ask in my live stream sometime, what are your plans for spring? Do you have any? And kind of what do you want? Kind of where do you want to be this year? Do you think?
Yeah, so assuming that we have in the 60s survive, I don't think I'll have too much of an issue, but I do want to grow this year. We have 4 yards in total right now, and I'm looking to pick up. There's 2 other farm contracts that we're looking to put in some real nice alfalfa fields, and another big farmer in the area throughout the Sandy Valley area. So we're going to be increasing probably to around 150 is what I probably feel comfortable taking into next winter. So a little bit more than doubling, but basically just growing to that point and seeing where that stands. We do sell in about 3 different retail locations right now. So that, word is spreading for sure. And I want to be able to fulfill my honey orders. So honey production is definitely up there. And basically we're selling nukes in the springtime, upward maybe around 30 or so, just depends, but just taking some pre-orders, and everything's going great. So just having the bees determine to a degree the direction that we'll grow. But one of the hardest things I've learned this past year was knowing when to stop, because if you're any good at beekeeping, you're able to duplicate hives or make queens or do what you need to do to be fully sustainable. But one of the hardest lessons I had to learn was when to stop and at what time of year. So I feel lucky to get out of winter. If I'm at 66 out of 70, I feel really blessed, because some of those were fairly late season splits. And, I didn't boost any colonies this year. So the ones that didn't make it probably were because I didn't try to help save them. But if they don't make it, they don't make it. I'm going to give them my all. And that's one of the things I remember thinking after the end of the season this past year was, well, if anything, I sure gave it my all, and just kind of let the chips fall where they fell, and just been having a blast every day. I have a blast doing it. So.
Yeah. Same, kind of similar with me. I'm waiting for spring to actually be able to confirm what I'm really wanting to do. I really this year kind of want to expand. I have 5 colonies. I went in with 6, so right now that'd be an 80% success rate coming out of winters, which is pretty good. The only reason the other colony I think didn't make it was because it was a really more of a late colony, because really right going into winter, maybe 2 weeks before the cold kind of came in, I found this colony out in my BR, just in an empty nuke that I had set around, and all of a sudden I saw bees in there, so I tried my best to keep them alive. They actually did, stay alive a pretty good while in winter, but they just were kind of too small to get through winter. So I have 5 decent strong hives, and I inspected pretty much all of them except one, since we've had a lot of warm weather. I was able to get in there and kind of see what everybody's looking like. Everybody's looking good. A decent amount of brood in each one. Each colony has about 1 to 2 frames of brood, which is pretty normal for this time of the year. Most people probably up north probably don't want any brood. I usually like to have my bees brood up kind of early, so then I can have a little head start here in February. And but we'll see how things go. I'm hoping to expand and maybe try to raise some queens this year if I'm able to. I'm really not sure just yet. Like I've talked about in my last live stream, I was hoping to get a new grafting tool because I lost the other one and all that. So that's pretty much my plans, just hopefully to expand if I am. Kind of don't go too far. I don't want to carry you away with myself, expanding, because I did expand a big time in 2023. I didn't stop. I kept splitting. It really didn't end well for me. Went in with maybe 6 colonies. I got up to like maybe 15 colonies that had some queens and a couple that needed some mated queens, but they were so small and very late, I just couldn't get them through winter. And I came out with only 1 colony, so that's kind of where that led to. So this last year, I kind of went in with a better mindset of having a better quality hive, over quantity at this time. Yep. Of course, I want to get to a point where I can be more of a sideline beekeeper. It's something I want to do, make money out of beekeeping. But so far, I've just been kind of going on this saying, just, trying to go for more quality, having a much more stronger hive going through winter, coming out of winter, rather than having a lot of beehives, but not having strong hives, which means you'll most likely come out with not a lot of hives. But I just got to continue working and being a better beekeeper. That's pretty much what I always try to do. And expand slowly but surely, and then eventually, make money out of it, make a business.
Nice. Yeah, that was one thing that then helped me in my growth this year primarily, was just being very intentional. So if I was going to the yard, I wouldn't just go to a yard to kind of look around and, watch the butterflies and stuff like that. If that, I was going there with intention, trying to get, not take it as a job, but try to keep track of my time and, just trying to be as efficient as possible, no matter what I was doing. If it was just feeding, or kind of just try to use it as an efficiency game, if you will, that I played with myself, and just to try to see how much I could get done in a certain amount of time. And We have 3 kids. I have, being a contractor full time, so there's a full time job with that, and just kept myself pretty busy, as you can imagine. But never once did it ever feel like work. I mean, it was always kind of just done out of passion, I guess, if you will, and just riding the wave, and just seeing where it takes us, and super excited all the relationships that I'm developing and the people that I'm meeting, and just it's been really cool, really cool.
Absolutely. That's one thing I also try to do. You're talking about intentional. That's one thing I've always talked about on the channel before. And in 2023, yeah, that's it. 2023, I was not really being intentional at all. I just went out there, like you said, to watch butterflies or whatever, and open the colonies.
It's
and
easy to do. They're fascinating. So you can watch entrances, and next thing you know, an hour's gone by, and you didn't do half of the things you're trying to do, and the sun's going down. So
yeah. Absolutely. That happened to me multiple times. I went out there. I had plans I wanted to do, had things I did want to do, and things that needed to be done out there. And I ended up going out there and inspecting a couple colonies and being so fascinated with them. It happens all the time. And I'm hot in the bee season, especially in summertime. Then everything I wanted to get done doesn't get done, and go out there and being not intentional. So last year I was much more intentional. Went out into the bee yards and inspected the colonies when I needed to. And I did much better, going through winter. So I think that helped me out a lot, which is just something that you have to learn over time. It's one thing that comes with experience, and sometimes even beekeepers who keep bees 10 years still experience the same thing. It happens. I think it happens to the best of us. I think I have a one more question from me, and then we have a couple questions we will answer. And we're kind of on the verge of this topic anyway. What is your favorite thing about keeping bees? So many people ask me that question on my live streams, and I come up with the same answer because it's always the same answer for me. But I just wanted to ask you, since everybody asks me all the time, what is your favorite thing about beekeeping?
So probably my favorite thing about beekeeping, if I had to say one particular thing that definitely comes to mind, honey production is just basically a side effect, I feel like, of keeping healthy colonies and being able to take their excess from what they won't need for winter. So that's kind of a second to, for sure, probably rearing queens and making bees. So I did do about, I think, 5 total rounds of grafting this past summer, spring and summer and fall, actually. So I grafted all the way until August, middle of August. So I hatched queens August 28th. It was my last round to overwinter on double screen boards, and some of those were the ones that didn't make it, but some of those did make it. In doing that, I would say probably hatching queens in incubators and checking all fingers and toes, so to speak, and making sure everyone's nice and vibrant and walking around and feeding them their first little drop of honey and water, and then walking them into a new split. And then second to that is going to be coming back and seeing that she mated well and laying up a nice pattern. So I would say making bees and creating queens was probably my favorite thing this past summer. We sold a fair amount of virgin queens, just hatching and selling those, and had a blast doing it. So I would say queen rearing and building bees.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about raising queens. Do you raise queens for splits for yourself, or do you sell them, or do you do both?
We sold, to give you an idea, we sold probably 45 to 50 queens this year. Probably 30 of those were virgins, and the rest mated. Yeah. So we had 12 mating nukes going all summer. So some of those we would use for our own operation, and depending on the time, if a buddy called, or one of our local bee stores of actually one of our queens is in their observation hive in town. So it's pretty cool to just be a little part of us is in that store too, so it's just neat all the different things, but yeah, primarily.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to try to do some queen rearing, like I said, this year. I'm hoping to, because I tried some in 2023, and I did have some that actually were successful. Wasn't bad at all, but I'm planning to hopefully do some more this year. It depends on how big my colonies are, of course, and how much production I have. I'm really not sure, but I've been thinking. I'm always thinking about things beekeeping, trying to figure out what I want to do this year and how I'm going to do it. I try to record a video. I don't know if I'm going to upload it or not because I'm still not really sure. I would mostly like to, raise some queens and do some splits. So I was kind of thinking how I can do both, but maybe make some queens and then use those queens for my splits. I'm hoping
Yep.
that's what I can do. I'm hoping to do it that way. It just depends on how everything goes.
Yeah. Initially, I wasn't, we split all our colonies that survived winter. So I basically pulled 4 frames of brood with the queen and put her in a separate box and location and took all her assets and made and utilized the queen cells that they drew at first. And then aside from that, when the weather warmed up enough, that's when I really started grafting about April. And that's what I recommend that for anybody because I had no experience rearing queens whatsoever. I barely even knew how to keep a bee alive. But here I am trying grafting and cell builders and, you name it. So you're watching all the videos and all the legends, let's call them, on any available method of, watching, whether it be seminars or webinars or, videos. So that's basically how I learned. I just dove in head first and wasn't afraid to make a mistake. So you'd be surprised. Sometimes you'll succeed, and sometimes when you succeed big, and sometimes you fail and fall on your face. So you just got to get up and try it again if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I hope to do this year. I'm hoping to, and I'm hoping to do some videos this year. I'm looking forward to getting into spring and having more things to do. Because right now, I've been trying to, do things. There's not a whole lot of things to do out in Bee Artist. Like really, not many things. I already did everything I need to do. Check food. They're all good. With a lot of fondant. There's still a whole bunch of fondant on the colonies, and
Yep.
I inspected all of them. Just kind of wanted to see how much honey they had and see if they have any brood. Because usually this time of the year, like I said, we have brood. But everybody is doing good, and I'm just still figuring out things I want to do, and been trying to do videos as I can and having a good time with it. So I'm looking forward to Brain to come in and do a good bit of stuff. We'll see.
Yeah.
We
Sure.
do have some questions that we can answer real quick. First one is from Jason Seward, and he asked, "Does the heat make a lot of HMF?"
I'm assuming he's talking about with the fondant making.
Think so. I think that's what
Maybe
he's making.
maybe applying heat to it. No, I think a lot of that would be caused due to caramelization or scorching on the bottom of the pan. I'm actually using a 20 quart stainless steel pan doing it when I'm using it. So 20 pounds at a time. And I'm actually being really intentional and deliberate when I'm stirring it. So you just want to be intentional when you're making the candy making, and making sure that there's no kids or anything around. But in a 20-pound mix, it'll take about 20 minutes to get to boil. And at that inversion process, when it foams up, and I take my temperature from high all the way down to just slowly, but I'll go down all the way to about number 3 to give an idea on my gas range. So, no, we haven't seen any. There's been no test done or anything like that, but there's definitely no caramelization or anything like that happening. Cooking to that softball temperature.
Yeah. DC's Bees No Life Beekeeper asks, Matt, how long have you been keeping bees? Isn't it like 30 to 40 years?
Yeah. So this past winter was my second winter. So going into my third season in total. Third spring, technically.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any more questions, feel free to put them there. We have 30 folks on here. A lot of folks coming in. DC, Keith. Good evening, Clay. All these comments come by really, really fast. I apologize if I am not able to respond to every single one. Frank from Galloway Lights. Good to see you. JW. Hey, Grayson, who's that guy? Oh, I think he lives on the dirty side of the river.
That's my buddy. Yeah.
Buddy, good to see you, JW. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, DC said, yeah, he thought that y'all been keeping bees about the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watch all of DC's videos. He's a beekeeper on his path too, so it's awesome that he shows his journey, and that's
Yeah,
kind of why I even started taking any kind of videos or anything like that, was just coming across some what I thought was some pretty neat things. So I just kind of wanted to document it for myself. And some of those shorts that I make and stuff like that really are just a record for me, because I can recognize that hive when I'm pulling that top. So that kind of gives me an idea, date and time, and what I did and stuff like that. So I really don't feel like I have a whole lot to teach people, because I've been doing it for such a short amount of time. I'm just kind of sharing how I'm going about it, and
absolutely.
just trying to be as efficient as possible.
Yeah, me too. Frank has a question. What's Matt's ultimate bee goal to achieve?
Ultimate bee goal to achieve. Wow, to put a bottle of Sandy Valley Honey Company honey on every table in my county. I don't know really. I don't know where the ultimate goal really would be. Seeing the smile I feel like on our kids' faces when they experience opening a hive here. Everyone's got bee suits, so it'll be a matter of time this spring before Dad gets them out to the bee yard, where things are flying in a flow and everyone's nice and not too grumpy. But generally we have gentle bees, but I don't know. I'm not really sure where it's going to go and how far and what's in store, so I kind of just want to take it one thing at a time. But ultimately, there would probably be taking 150 hives in the winter this next season, and at that point, kind of reevaluating where I wanted to go from there.
Yeah,
That may not answer
absolutely.
the question.
Yeah, I don't know if
Sorry.
I could answer the question. It's a hard one to answer. I really don't know. I can't answer it because I have no idea what my ultimate bee is. I just know I
But
want to keep my bees alive. Oh,
like you're saying, Grayson, quality over quantity.
yeah,
It's really a number at that point, and just sounds cool to say. But if there are 150 hives of empty wooden shells, that what goods that do? So, with the time that I'm spending at it, just continuing just to be intentional and deliberate with my actions and time.
yeah, yeah. DC says, I'm glad you started making videos, Matt. I enjoy seeing them, how your bees are doing and how you keep them.
Awesome. Thanks, DC.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
I watch DC's bees and his videos too. Has a lot of good stuff on there, and he's been sharing out a lot of smaller um, beekeepers. It's always good to find new beekeepers out there. Whether it be a newer channel or a smaller channel, it's always good to get them into the I don't know what you'd call it into knowing I guess for other people to see their stuff and on. That's kind of how I even came on here and was able to do these live streams and all. I was at like maybe 20 subscribers. I think I wasn't
Mm,
doing this channel for trying to get famous or getting good or maybe even getting subscribers or getting big or anything like that.
right.
I just did it just for I think I really mainly did it for my family and just so I could see how I did my bees. And sometimes it's good to go back afterwards and see what you do. Wasn't really professional back then, but I had 20 subscribers. Not much, very small channel. Had fun at what I did. Not really, I really didn't care. But a beekeeper, another beekeeper did find me on YouTube and shared me out, and that's kind of where I got started. There was this one video that actually was able to get out to more folks, and people were able to find it, and I got shared out a couple people. I still appreciate them to this day for helping me out, and that's kind of how I got into beekeeping. And it's always good to help other beekeepers as well get out there and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Good night, Lee. Thanks for checking in. Matt, DC has never questioned. He says, Matt, with running 150, are you looking at pollination?
Not so much. There's not a whole lot of pollination around here. I'm basically just trying to pollinate all the vertical gardens. We do have a lot of hardwood and great trees, and definitely lots of clover and alfalfa and all those goodies. That come along with a lot of hay fields and a little bit of farming, but not a whole lot of row crops. So I do have one of our yards is at a vineyard. But that comes with certain amount of challenges. Although everything went well this year, but the more studying you want to do on vineyard pollination, the bees don't need to work the grapes at all, and some of the pesticides that they spray, and that isn't very suitable for bees. So that's kind of um, a touchy situation there, but it's amazing that I didn't have any issues there. So we'll see how that yard goes. But as far as pollination, we have one of our yards actually is at a blackberry patch. We pollinate the blackberries there. Pretty much some of those are heirloom varieties, and they'll bloom from maybe mid-April, May to almost to September. So just for our own honey production, but not for individual farmers other than our own production.
They have to spray anti-fungals.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Though he did give me a list of chemicals, and I looked them up and quickly found that none of them were good at all for any kind of a pollinator. But yeah, that's one of the risks, and that's actually written into the contract for those hives that they rent from me, to where if I did have a spray kill or anything like that, that they would I would be reimbursed for those hives, and so on and so forth. So just really intentional with anything I'm doing or any contracts I'm signing and stuff like that with.
Absolutely. Well, I've been seeing a lot of, pollen, I've been saying, lately, down here, I'm still not really sure what type of pollen it is or whatever. So I was going to ask you, have you been seeing any pollen coming in if you're out in your yard? And I'm sure since you're kind of more northern, you might not might not be seeing as much as we are, since we've been having much more warm weather. But and also with a side note, what type of pollen and flowers do y'all have in y'all's area? I always find it interesting to hear what other people.
Yeah, so basically February pretty much ramps up with the red maple. That's just now starting to, the very bottom buds of those trees are basically just starting to open up with the little flower petals on them. So the outer hole, so to speak, of the bud of the red maple is softened and actually opened up. Hopefully, I think they're gonna maybe hold back until this next freeze comes, but really we have an Ozark witch hazel that's been in bloom here the last week or so. And I've been seeing them come up and bring some of that in, but primarily the red maple early February. And then that's followed by an assortment of everything you could think of in the trees, but primarily red bud starts going. We have a lot of red bud. And the trees really just start going crazy early spring. Black locust around us is generally about May 1st. Last year we had a pretty big hailstorm into April, which knocked a lot of those buds down. And so that flow was limited, but we have a really strong black locust flow here. Lots of locust, and it just ramps up. We really don't have to feed a lot of pollen. We're lucky in that sense. We kind of get the best of both worlds. So pretty good nectar flow from about May to July, roundabouts. Last year we had a little bit of a later flow. It kind of kept in. I'm not sure, right after the dearth it picked back up, or after a big drought, I guess I should say. So yeah, I mean, all in all, it primarily just the vertical gardens of the trees, so hickories and a little bit of everything. It's amazing to look at the flora and fauna and see what actually is contributing to the bees and how resourceful they are. The Ozark witch hazel, you'd never even know it was a pollen producing shrub. It just looks like, a little 2-inch tree that's hasn't shed its leaves. But if you get close enough, it's got little bells on it, almost like a basswood or a linden tree that's giving off a light gray pollen right now. So really cool to witness. But yeah, they ramp up and get pretty strong by about mid-March.
Oh yeah, down here I think we usually get privet in spring and tallow as well. Those are pretty much our big ones in spring, and then of course in fall we'll have our goldenrod. I've been seeing some yellow pollen lately, but I did see some bees coming in with some red pollen. What I've been trying to do is I've been trying to research lately on our area, because I'm honestly not sure all the flowers we have. I just know we have privet, tallow, and goldenrod, which I know there's a whole bunch more that we might have. So I've been trying to do research on kind of what we have down here, because I'm still not 100% sure everything. It's because every time somebody asks me, I just tell them those three things as our main flows, which they are. But I've been trying to research more of our area and figure out kind of some of the more things that we have that the bees consume. I'm still in the work of that, but it's pretty interesting. Every area is different of what they have, what's local to them, and but yeah, usually early spring we'll get some privet, which is pretty good.
Yep.
Then after that, tallow really starts to hit strong. So it's pretty much privet, then tallow. The privet starts to die off once our tallow comes in. Then we have the derf, which we pretty much have nothing. Maybe once in a while we'll have a couple flowers bloom, but that's pretty much about it. And then fall will come in and we'll get some goldenrod. Usually down here, goldenrod isn't something that we like to rely on to get our bees readied up for winter. It is something that is good for our bees. It's healthy for the bees. It's really good, especially in fall. But I never count on it in a year, because sometimes we might not have a good flow of it. So that's pretty much that's ours down here. But we'll see. Excuse me. Same. Keith says same here. Red maples are about to pop.
Yeah, and Keith's in is it North Carolina, right? In the mountains.
He's in North Carolina. I think he's in that area up there. Let's see.
Yeah, spring's trying to happen. We're gonna get we have a chance of snow the next Tuesday and Wednesday, so it's gonna get down to the 20s again. So we got up into the 70s the last couple of days and had pretty good flight days the last week or two. But aside from that, they've been held up pretty tight. So I think the ground Punxsutawney Phil didn't he saw his shadow and ran back in, from what I heard. So I feel like the robins around here really start chirping, and that awareness that's one thing the bees have really made me more aware of than I already was. I feel like is not just the flowers and what pollens are blooming and that awareness, but an overall awareness, just more of in nature. So the different birds that you'll hear when it starts warming up, and there's a certain bird, and I have no idea the species of it, but there's a certain time of year, I swear that I would hear that bird, and the bees would definitely be in some sort of a flow, and then all of a sudden it was gone, and the bees were totally ornery and trying to get me, So I don't know. It just kind of just being aware of the different scenarios and different things you're hearing, even, or smelling, or just all the sensation that the bees give you and what you can pick up. So it's been really cool.
Yeah. DC, it says it can tell you. Oh, I think he has never comment up there. Let's see. I did have another topic real quick I kind of want to talk about, since we're kind of getting here in February. I'm sure people are starting to think about splits. We kind of chatted it before. I was talking about a lot of folks probably about start doing some splits here. I was going to ask you, when are you kind of wanting to start doing your splits, and how are you going to be doing your splits?
I'll pull my splits over a queen excluder. I'll find my queen or shake her or get her in the bottom box at that point, and put a queen excluder, and then pull any extra assets above her. But really, when I'll pull my splits in the spring, it'll be 4 frames of brood, generally on April 1st. So 4 to 5 frames at that point. Our main flow really starts kicking into higher gear right about 3 or 4 weeks prior to that, or after that. So right about May 1st, generally. Really just trying to, I do have some early queens coming in right around the beginning of April. So we'll sell our spring nukes and some overwintered nukes at that point. But from there, pretty much just trying to do some earlier splits this year. But that really starts right now, right around Valentine's Day. We may start feeding some pollen sub and ramping up some of that brood after this next cold snap comes and goes. That may be that time. So just trying to be intentional with that. But that's you have to feed them heavy at that point, make sure that they don't run out of stores, and really just trying to grow that number of hives as early in the season as I can, to let them build up naturally on the flow and take them out of production, just building status at that point. So
yeah, I'm gonna try to do some splits this year as well. I'm still not totally sure what I'm gonna do. I'm still trying to think if I'm gonna do 5 frame splits like I did last year, if I'm gonna do 3 frame splits with If I'm able to raise some queen, I'm thinking I'm going to do some 3-frame splits so I can kind of, as long as I have 10 frames in my colonies that are packed full of bees, lots of brood, healthy colonies, I'll probably be able to do some 3-frame splits. Might mean not as much honey if I want to take maybe have 5 colonies. If I able to come out with all of them, really everything I'm saying depends on how all the bees go. I
Yep.
can set 2 apart and just use those for honey hives, and take 3 and do splits, 3-frame splits, and have raise some queens if I'm able to do that. Or if I'm not really worried about getting honey, I can use all 5 of them to, as long as they're all healthy, and do some 3-frame splits and put some queens in there. I The last time I did splits, I made a very, very bad mistake. I did not put any queens in there. I just let them raise their own queen. I try to let them naturally do it. That didn't work out because it takes them a month around there for the whole thing to even work, be able to raise a queen, plus, having to wait for, new bees to come in. So
Yep.
that was a really bad mistake. I never thought it through. So this year I'm taking my time thinking through what I need to be doing and how to do it, right. That's what I've been doing. And that's what really pretty much my plan to do February is figure out what I need to be doing, and taking my time on it, being intentional of what I do. It's really
Yep.
my goal this year is to be intentional. And if I can do that, yeah, that's pretty much going to be my plan. That's pretty much what I really want to do. If everything
Yeah.
goes the way I want it to, of course.
Yeah, raising queens and getting them all mated, you can do everything right, and there can be a week of bad weather, and that can just basically hamper things big time.
Yeah,
Um, so I mean, it's agriculture and a roll of the dice, no matter what you're doing with it. But it's fun when it works out, and goes according to plan, and I guess can be just as painful when it doesn't. But you just get back up and learn from what you need to, and being able to admit that you made a mistake is big, and just stay humble, because they'll humble you if you get too many bees. They're going to humble you and swarm, and so um, ultimately, yeah, it's been such a blast. I look forward to spring happening, and even though it's trying, I don't think it's quite here yet.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's see. If y'all have any more questions, please feel free to put them in the comment chat. This chat really went by pretty quick. Every time I do my chats, they always do go by pretty quick, and we're always getting close here to the end. But if y'all do have some final questions, we'll answer them and um, all that. So let me make sure to miss any comments because these things have been going by pretty quick. DC, I'm going to make me spring nukes with ordered queens and brood frames again this year.
Nice.
I thought about doing that as well. I just like I said, like I was saying, I've been thinking about stuff like that and what I can do. I've thought about that way of doing so too. I got there's some things I probably will need to order. That's another thing I got to do is kind of go through the equipment, and I know I need to get a grafting tool. If I'm going to be doing a little bit of grafting, trying that out, I need to get another grafting tool. I like using the Chinese grafting tools because in 2023 when I did some grafting, that was one that I really liked to. It was better for me, and I probably need to get some more bottom boards. Is probably what I really need to get because I'm pretty low on those. I had to get rid of some things because some things just were not usable. Because I like to reuse a lot of drawn comb and stuff like that, but there's some things that are just not usable, so I had to throw away a couple bottom boards. But that's some more things to discuss later on in the future. DC's Beats has a question for you, Matt. Matt, have you thought about brood frame cells?
I haven't. I haven't yet. I actually was, for some reason, brainstorming the other day of packages and how that might be a little bit more profitable than nuke sales, just because we raise pretty strong colonies and they're coming out of spring pretty strong. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Packages are in our area about $25 difference from a nuke, so that's almost saving five drawn comb in that sense. But I haven't sold any brood frames, but I have definitely helped out friends and stuff like that, with if they're in a pinch or need something like that. So I do that throughout the year, but I don't advertise that I'm selling brood frames.
Yeah. DC said $25 to $30 a frame here. maybe higher. I haven't checked this year. No, they normally come with 3.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of those. I'm sure some people could use it. I've thought about selling things before. Like split. I mean nukes and stuff like that. I'm sure. What was I about to say? Probably packages also could be good. I'm not there yet, but it's pretty interesting to think about and all. But I did sell some honey this year, last year, and I'm continue selling it. I'm most likely probably gonna, if I need anything to order, I like to kind of put some of my honey money back into uh, bottom boards, equipment, things that I need, for this upcoming season. I'll put back some of the money that I got for my honey back into that because we got about 7.5 gallons of honey, which is pretty good for us down here. With
Yeah.
6 at the time I had like 8 colonies, pretty good for that amount of producing colonies. Some of them I didn't put any supers on. Some of them weren't strong enough to do so. Just some nukes and stuff that I had for some splits. But all the production halves had probably around 6 production halves, 2 full deeps of honey, and then all the rest with supers. I had one colony that had 2 supers and never one with 1. And I did a video about it. It was pretty good. I was able to get some honey, be able to put it back into what I need to get bottom boards. I got to go out there and assess everything. I'm really not sure. I know I have all the frames. I have so many drawn combs that I love to reuse. I have a lot of boxes, a lot of nukes, the empty ones, a lot of frames. I don't need anything out of that. I might need some more top covers. I'm thinking that might be one. Bottom covers and bottom boards might be the only thing I really need. But then and a grafting tool. And after that, I think I pretty much have everything because a lot of my stuff has been lasting a while. A lot of nukes have like maybe 15 nukes that are usable.
Mm-hmm.
If I need to make splits, I have the things that I need.
Yeah, it's what I've learned too about growing numbers is I'm buying in bulk for everything. So I did a lot of onesie twosies, running up to our local store, grabbing a couple deep boxes and throwing it on the hives. Some of them I may have put down there, didn't even paint them or didn't seal them at all. It didn't do anything, and they've expanded over winter. So I basically just ruined those boxes, because they're junk now. So it's one of those things, I'm definitely not perfect by any means and made a lot of mistakes and, will continue to, but just kind of buying once and crying once with some of the equipment, I feel like is going to be a good way to go this year and not try to force things, kind of come at it a little bit more prepared and, make that equipment last because beekeeping is an expensive hobby. You can make some money back with honey and, diversified sales, whatever you're doing. But if your equipment's not lasting, you're paying for that overhead that it could have, had you bought it correctly, could have been lasting. So learning that lesson slowly. I got a lot of used equipment that's
Yeah.
is showing a little bit of shrinkage over winter with the air drying out on me. So what can you do? Living and learning, but
Yeah, absolutely. DC, are you taking any nukes orders yet this year? Grayson, didn't you sell a few last year? I don't think I sold any last year, DC. I think the year before, though, I was going to sell a couple, but everything went bad, so I wasn't able to sell any. I had just some guys that we knew pretty close that wanted a couple to get started in getting some that was able to start into some beekeeping, but everything kind of went down that year in 2023, so I wasn't able to get those out, which they understood. So hopefully, we'll be able to do those. Maybe this year, we'll sell some nukes. I think it'd be pretty good. But of course, everything depends on how the year goes. If everything goes perfectly and I can expand pretty big, and I probably could next year, sell some nukes and as well. So everything's just going to be how everything goes at the time being. So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be able to do some at some point. But yeah, I did take some the year before last, and but I wasn't able to get those out. Jason from Seaward says, I'm making all of my own equipment because I'm cheap. The only thing I'm planning on buying is frames/foundations.
Yep. So that was one of the downfalls of growing. I had to draw about 1,200 frames of foundation this year in our growth from 4 to 70. So I just know that's how many boxes of acorn foundations that I bought at the Deep. So yeah, I mean, it's making your own equipment and trying to say, being a carpenter by trade, I make all my migratory tops, bottom boards. The only thing I don't make yet is the boxes. I even have a router table, and I don't have a dovetail jig or anything like that for it. But you know, it's one of those things. If I can get the boxes for the cost that I think I'm going to be able to get them for, I may not make my boxes this year. But hats off to Jason. He actually, I believe, had a video came out. I started watching it, but I haven't finished it. So it's nice to see. I think he was newer at making videos, kind of like me too. So nice to see him out there and intentionally making himself uncomfortable, you know, if he was. But I know for me, I'm kind of shy by nature. So doing anything with the videos or anything on YouTube kind of puts me in my out of my comfort zone in general. And I could talk to anybody about bees. So it's kind of given me a way and challenged me in ways I never even saw coming too, in that sense. So just a little personal thing about me. So
I actually was the same as well, right? Whenever I kind of got into, live streaming and YouTube stuff, because before I wasn't really nervous about talking on camera or anything whenever I didn't really have any viewers, because I knew nobody was really watching, so I could just do it for myself and for family. So I wasn't really nervous or anything. But whenever I started getting some people watching and stuff, and I went on live streams, I was nervous for, I don't know if you'd call it nervous and uncomfortable for a little while. Then I started doing interviews, which also led to me being able to kind of get better doing these as well. At first, I was really not really good at it or anything. It wasn't the best. I was okay, but I wasn't the best. But I kind of started interviewing people and kind of getting better at my skills at it. I still have a lot of things to learn about doing these things and stuff. I try to be as good as I can. I'm not Lee. If anybody watches Lee, you know him. He has all the buttons and things. But I'm not anything like that. But I try to do my best on these things. It's always fun to do so.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your effort and all the hard work you do, you know, bringing people together and doing live chats and asking someone like me. And I'm extremely humbled to come on and talk bees, and I can talk to it about anybody. But the part and the role that you play in the community is awesome. So I appreciate that too.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I guess we'll kind of get going here. DC there said maybe you can sell some late nukes if there are no buyers. You can take them through winter. That's a good idea. I might do that. Yeah, DC was here actually from the start. He was here whenever I did my first live stream by myself, and all. But I was kind of nervous there. But I was able to kind of get better at it. Right when I started, I'd be nervous talking to people, and it kind of started. I started to get much better at it. Right whenever I started, I remember. Right when I started the chats, I would always be nervous and I'd always be uncomfortable, but it was always something with me whenever I kind of started to get more into live stream and continue going. I kind of just adapted and kind of went along for the ride and got much better throughout the live streams, and it kept on going to now. And, I've been much better. So yeah, DC, thank you. And he's been here for a while. A lot of people have been. But I guess we will get close to wrapping this up. It's already about to be 8:00. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been a very fun chat tonight, and I did leave your link if anybody's wondering about Matt's channel. It's in the link. Check it out. Some good videos over there on how he does his stuff. And thank you all for watching. Thank you, Matt, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for watching, and go on and click the thumbs up button on this live stream, and check out Matt's channel. We appreciate it all for watching. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, buddy.